Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you doing? Happy Saturday or Sunday, wherever you may be. Actually, I think is it Sunday for everybody yet? Anyways, happy Sunday from me to you. We are kicking things off with the Blue Ghost lander. We are just 37 minutes away from a Firefly commercial company landing on the surface of the moon with their Blue Ghost lander. We are very, very close, chat. 36 minutes away. It is currently 64 kilometers in altitude, still traveling at 5,900 kilometers an hour. We did get the go for landing like 20 minutes ago, or a little bit even more than 20 minutes ago. So hopefully this will be a very good start to our Sunday morning here. So we can see here we're looking at the Firefly Aerospace mission control for Blue Ghost. If you guys don't know Firefly, they are, I guess, kind of first a launch company. They operate in the smaller, like small sat launcher opportunities. They have quite a few contracts. They're the ones that did the responsive satellite missions for the United States Air Force Space Force, which is where they basically took a payload that they knew nothing about and launched it within 30 days. If you guys remember that happening earlier this year and last year, or I guess I should say last year and the previous year. They've done a couple rounds of that. And now they are working on Lunar Lander as part of the commercial lunar payload services contracts, or CLPS. What's up, Explorer? How are you doing? So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking here for a minute while we listen into their webcast. We got 35 minutes, so I'm sure we can take a break from whatever they're going to be talking about, and we can talk about all the payloads and where we're going to be sitting with respect to the near future events that we should be hearing. But let's see what they have to say right now.
Welders all came together to make this happen. We asked them who they dedicate the mission to, so let's listen to what they have to say.
Oh, I do not want any music to mute the VOD and stuff like that. So while they're doing this, we can bring up at least some of the payloads that are going to be on this mission. There are 10 overall payloads for this first Blue Ghost demonstration mission that's going to be landing on the surface of the moon in just over 34 minutes from now. 10 payloads for Blue Ghost Mission 1. They're carrying several from Honeybee Robotics, or those payloads are mainly oriented around surface characterization. They have one for thermal exploration, as well as a planet vac. They quite literally have one of those vacuum that we saw on the previous asteroid sample return missions. So they're going to be, I guess, landing a planet vac onto the surface to suck up some regolith and then do some in situ resource science, which is pretty cool. They have another one for actually doing that science as well, for characterizing the regolith, radiation tolerance testing. They have, what's really cool, they actually have a lunar GNSS system. For anybody that doesn't know what GNSS is, it's basically GPS using satellites in medium Earth orbit here around Earth that give us our GPS coordinates and things like that. They're looking to test from the Italian Space Agency in conglomeration with NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, a system that might be able to tap into the GPS here around Earth in order to get its position on the moon, which is actually really cool. It's not like it can't be done. The only thing is that the GPS here on Earth is meant for Earth. So like the signals are very, very low, especially as you get further and further away from Earth towards the moon. And so they're testing just how they can use GNSS systems around the moon, which is pretty cool. They have a number of cameras on board, a number of dust experiments on board, all here on this first mission. 10 overall. They have a University of Maryland payload, if I'm not mistaken. So that's definitely pretty cool. So what we have here, what we're basically waiting for, is going through their descent process. They have a number of things that they have to work through. They're going to be starting with their braking burn from here on out, I believe, because I think we're still currently in the coast period. We'll have a braking burn and then the pitch over maneuver, hazard detection because they're using terrain relative navigation, meaning that on board their system, they actually have cameras basically facing downward towards the terrain. And that camera system basically has a database of already predetermined images that of the surface of the moon, of what they expect the surface of the moon to look like. And they're going to basically, as they're flying over the surface of the moon, taking images, that system will then actually compare the images that it takes to that database. So that way they can actually understand not only where they are, but also any sort of hazards that they want to avoid. So that's really cool. Then they're going to, I think from that site or from that process, actually determine where they're going to land, and then they do their final landing descent, and then also another hazard avoidance. So yeah, still got a lot to work through here. But we're currently, I believe, in the coast phase all the way down until we hit their next guidance mode, which I think is 11 minutes from landing. So yeah, we still have like another 20 minutes or so, almost exactly, until we get into the next period of its descent. So why not deploy a Lunar NSS constellation instead of trying to use the one around Earth? Because it takes a long time to do that, right? If you want to actually get full coverage of the moon, then it takes a lot, right? Because the thing about having GPS, right, is you need at least 3 in order to get your 2-dimensional. Well, I guess you could still do it with 3-dimensional spacing localization, but typically you want more than 3 because then that just gives you more data points in order to actually estimate your position. So you typically need 4 or more. I think most GPS use like 5 or more in order to get like within a 10-meter accuracy here on Earth. So you need a lot of sats. You need a lot of sats for that. And so deploying, building that infrastructure, although good for the long term, isn't necessarily something that needs to be done right now. So why not try to use what we already have existing, right? Best part is no part, so to speak. Hey, what's up, Deke? How are you doing? Yep, we have a moon landing. That's right. How long until they release the rover? I have no idea. Does this mission even have a rover, actually? Or you think, because I know Intuitive Machines has 2, but I wasn't actually looking at the payloads here on board Blue Ghost. I don't think this one actually has a rover, unless I'm just not seeing it in the right list here. I don't think this one has a rover though. They have a camera, the GNSS, they have a magnetotelluric sounder. That's cool. Lunar X-ray imager, electrodynamic dust shield, radiant tolerant computer testing, regolith adherence characterization experiment, next generation lunar reflector, lunar planet vac, and a lunar instrumentation for subsurface thermal exploration with rapidity. Yeah, that's the thing. Hey, what's up, Rams? How are you? Yeah, IM2 has 2 rovers, indeed, and a hopper, which is really cool. I think all the payloads on Blue Ghost here are fixed. But anyways, we are just 28 minutes out here, chat. Let's listen back into what they're saying.
All with the common goal of sending payloads to the moon. Now, there are risks, and NASA is embracing a higher level of risk tolerance by leveraging commercial solutions to send rapid, low-cost deliveries to the moon, fostering a growing lunar
Or
economy.
Eagle Cam?
Let's take a look.
Don't get me started.
Landing on the moon is hard. we're going back. Under this Artemis program, we're going to be sending humans to the moon for the first time since Apollo. So ahead of humans.
Yeah, it was really
want
sad
to
about
get as
EagleCam.
much science exploration and technology experiments as possible.
So Eclipse starts facilitating a lot of the early science, the things we want to learn before we even send humans.
3
Eclipse
rovers are going to the moon
stands
right now?
for
Yeah.
Commercial Lunar Payload
It's pretty crazy.
Service,
We are
CLPS.
living in a crazy time. There are three overall landers and things that are actually going to the surface of the moon, which is pretty awesome. I actually have somewhere keyed up, I believe. Is it this one? Yeah, this one right here, chat. Let me see here if I can zoom this in. So yeah, this is we have Firefly, Blue Ghost. We have Intuitive Machines, IM2, net March 6th, and then we also have the Hakuto. This is the second mission, I believe, of the Hakuto series of missions, mission 2. That's going to be net April. This one actually launched with Blue Ghost, but its trajectory is taking a minimum energy transfer orbit. So essentially it does a lot of flybys of the moon and Earth until it finally gets to the moon, to where it basically just kind of falls into the lunar gravity well. But yeah, we have 3 landers all going at the same time. Did you catch the propellant transfer video from the ISS recently, or what? Because otherwise, no, I did not. There are so many, yes. That is definitely really awesome. And then, of course, if you guys want to know where the 2 missions that are currently headed there are landing, this is where they're landing. So we have Blue Ghost way up here, and then we have IM2 way down here. What's up, Juan? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. But yeah, so we have a lot of missions in action. Oh, and here's an even updated image showing you where Hakuto R is going to be landing. This is from Maths Boy 42. But yeah, so IM2 down at the South Pole, Hakuto at the North Pole, you know, high latitude north, and then Blue Ghost around the equator, I think. Something around there. What's this? Demonstrating rocket fuel transfer in space. I'll have to check that out. That is pretty neat. I know they've been doing more and more infrastructure tests and everything like that, but yeah, haven't seen that in particular. They're still doing some B footage here while we wait. 25 minutes, chat. But what's really cool about Blue Ghost, if you guys don't know what Firefly has been up to, you know, Firefly started off as a small launch company with their Firefly Alpha, something on the order of like, are they on the 1 metric ton style of payload, I think? They've already done a number of like rapid turnaround missions for the United States Air Force. They have their own orbital transfer vehicle design that they've been looking to implement and utilize commercially. They have the Commercial Lunar Payload Services contract from NASA, CLPS, which is what this lunar lander is contracted from. Yeah, they're looking to like completely dominate the space market, as you know, is kind of the thing to do now in the when you are a launch company. If you're a launch company, why not then build things to launch on your launch rocket, right? So they're definitely taking as much advantage of that capability as possible. And what's also really interesting is Firefly, if I'm not mistaken, I think actually contracted or bought rights to or IP or engineering time from the Israeli Space Agency, from the Bereshit lander that launched, I think, a couple years ago now. And it did a hard landing on the surface of the moon. Unfortunately, it did not survive. If you guys remember this guy, let me actually open up this picture, and you should see a fairly uncanny resemblance, if you will, from the Blue Ghost to the ISL lander, the Bereshit lander. Yeah, they, like I said, basically took engineering time and like bought IP, or, you know, not IP, but they didn't buy it, but they basically got services from ISL, if I recall correctly, and kind of gave them a head start, if you will, on building out Blue Ghost. Now the Bereshit lander is much smaller than Blue Ghost, if I remember correctly. It's been a hot minute since we looked at the Bereshit lander, but pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the ISL, the Israeli Space Agency, and Firefly were working together on this. All right, let's see. Should be getting closer. 23 minutes, chat. Firefly makes a lot of hardware for other companies also. Yeah, they do.
To see that technology go to work on the Blue Ghost.
Looks like landers
I think
deployed to
everyone
different biomes
remembers
in
from Apollo
KSP.
the
You're not wrong.
difficulty of all the dust
It looks like its
how
little
it would
brother. Yeah,
cover
exactly.
The cameras and on the vehicle itself and the solar panels. And so by having this electrodynamic dust shield, it'll prove out that technology. Which
They're talking about the
dust
payloads.
will not be a problem, hopefully, as we go forward.
You know, I'm really excited of learning of that one myself. And just like you, I'm also a Kennedy gal, so huge shout out to the EDS team. Now, Janet, is there any message you'd like to say to our public here as we get ready to land on the moon?
Yeah, I would say thank you to everybody for their support. And I would also in particular like to thank the Firefly team. Earlier today I was talking to Jason, and he was talking about his team of people, and I got to see a couple of them, but I can tell you they are motivated, they're dedicated.
You guys remember, this is not live, by the way, just full disclosure. This is what was posted to X a couple days ago from Firefly. But yeah, just what an astonishing set of footage here from Firefly, from the Blue Ghost lander. You can see here this actuating piece. This is one of the radiators. We're essentially looking from the top deck down towards one of the attitude control systems. So yeah, not too shabby. Nope. What happened? I got rid of it. But I figured while we're just looking at B-roll footage and listening to them talk in the background, we can look at some amazing footage here. Great quality, truly, 100%. Like, really excited for what all this is going to be bringing to the moon. NASA is definitely commercializing, or I should say trying to spur the industry for commercial lunar services, which is great. I mean, that I think is definitely what NASA's primary job should be, which is trying to spur trying to bolster the commercial economy, if you will, for destinations that were otherwise completely not even remotely feasible for commercial enterprise. And what I mean by that is in terms of business cases, right? Like going to the moon without there actually being contractors or, any sort of resources or anything that are being paid for makes no business, case whatsoever. So NASA being able to spur or to provide these contracts is able to bolster this new economy for the commercial sector, which I think is where it needs to go. But yeah, so again, I can't wait to see all of the up and coming footage that I hope we get from Blue Ghost. If it lands, when it lands, chat, when it lands, yes. So that way we can actually see basically this all the way down. I think that would be amazing. Wait, so the landing stream isn't live, or just the shorts aren't live? This I'm showing you is from a few days ago. The footage here is not there. The footage from the other place here is live. Yes, everything is live here. We are live. Don't you worry. We are indeed.
This phase,
I just wanted to cut over to that because I really hope we get to see more of that. What was the craft doing in the maneuver? It looks like it was sun pointing, because I think Blue Ghost has its solar panel at the very top, and so it looked like it was slewing to basically face the sun.
Where Blue Ghost's descent rate is maintained at that 1 meter per second.
Firefly's live as a data chart more than a live stream. I mean, that's fair. I mean, this is live though.
It's very, very impressive. Now, throughout
But yeah, I hope we get video all the way down.
The engines firing, or do they all shut off?
Not live, but like uploaded later.
Great question. So those Spectre engines we spoke about before.
Oh, thank you, Jersey. Confirmed. Cool.
Pulse. They give us a very fine-tuned control during descent.
Talking about the attitude control sisters.
4 times
Sisters.
a second.
Sisters.
Anywhere from 60 milliseconds to 235 millisecond bursts. So about as quick as a bird flapping its wings, or as long as a blink of an eye. Then, once the lander's foot pads detect contact with the surface, they send a signal for the engines to cut off. And what you see on the screen now is a visualization of these contact sensors to show which of those foot pads have successfully touched down on the surface.
Nice. Hey,
Now,
Captain Failure.
procedure sounds so simple when you explain it, but we both know how much work it got to get to this point. We know how we are going to land, but what will we see? And most importantly, what about the pictures?
So to set the stage,
Exactly,
there's
Aster.
two
Yeah, I'm
types
not
of
expecting
antennas
any
that we talk
video.
about here. We have an
They
S-band
have
antenna, which you can
bandwidth
kind of think of
issues.
as our lower resolution SD antenna, and then you have your X-band or our high resolution. The plan is to use our S-band antenna to send our first images, hopefully within about 30 minutes of a nominal landing. But if that data rate is too limited, we're going to switch to X-band. This takes a little bit longer to deploy and calibrate, but once it's up, we're going to have a much faster downlink for high definition images and video.
So
Yeah, it's really important. So just like intuitive machines, they use 2 different frequencies and communication bands. S-band, very standard in space communications. S-band operates around the 2.4 gigahertz range. Think of like your 2.4 gigahertz in your home for Wi-Fi. So it operates around there. But because of that, just because of the nature of that frequency and it's a little bit wider band, they typically can only get like a maximum of like 150 kilobits per second. But if you switch over to X-band, narrower beam, higher frequency, around 5 gigahertz, definitely takes more, transmission power and things like that. You can get all the way up to like 100 megabytes per second on that. So that's what they're talking about. Of course, that all is usually those specs are when you're close to Earth. They're at the moon here, so that's going to be even worse, of course. But yeah.
and perform that autonomous descent operation
Iceman.
Bridget just went over with us. Now let's
GNC
go.
verify step 46.3.
We're going to go
All count
ahead.
on ops. 5 minutes to power the descent ignition.
Perfect. We heard that 5-minute call
All
out.
consoles 1 minute away from PDA
Power
protocol
descent
poll,
ignition
step
poll.
47.2.
Let's tune into the mission
No-go
operations
poll
center
chat.
and listen for that poll.
Are we go for landing? Could radiation be a cause of slow connection? Not really. Yes, but
So
not
what y'all are seeing on the
really.
screen here are those positions in the mission operations center, and we'll see those
Hey, Talon.
light up as they give their go or no go commands.
We have
And on our screen
payload,
right now, we are
comms.
seeing our flight director, right?
That's right. So that's Charles right there. He's our
Ground
flight
software,
director
flight
for
software.
this mission.
Flight controller.
All count on ops. SLU is complete. GNC verify step 46.4.
Right. Everything
Slew is
continues
complete.
to remain nominal as we stand by for that go no go.
So
poll.
it just did some kind of maneuver.
Is reporting position covariance below 50 meters.
And that VNS is our vision navigation system.
So
State is 11.
position covariance is essentially your
We will be
error.
starting
They're
PDI
within
at
50
97%.
meters
Stay
error
tuned.
on their calibration.
All consoles flight on ops. PDI cannot be aborted if the lander has transitioned to descent critical. Also at this point, we're going to proceed with our power descent initiation go no go poll, starting with payload,
Go.
comm,
Go.
ground software,
Go.
flight software,
Flight software's go.
Avionics.
ABI is go.
VNS,
VNS is go.
GNC,
Go.
FIDO,
Go.
prop,
Go.
TCS,
Go.
systems,
Go.
CE,
Go.
FC.
Go.
All
And y'all-
consoles Blue Ghost lander is a go for power descent initiation.
And y'all
Awesome,
heard it
all right,
from
we are-
Charles.
3 minutes remaining until power descent initiation.
Yep, 3 minutes
We
at T
are go
minus
for the
11
power
minutes.
descent initiation. In
That's
the
when they
next
start their
15
next
minutes,
maneuver.
We're going to tune into our mission operations center as a
Well,
team
we're go for
monitors
landing,
the
chat.
vehicle and
That was the
prepares for
last
that final descent.
Go no go on that
There
front.
are some of those visuals that you were describing earlier in the show, Bridget, so we can see our countdown clock.
YouTube
where
is
we're
go,
about
hell yeah.
14 minutes.
Yeah, we already
just,
got to go on
almost under
on Twitch
14 minutes
chat.
from landing.
Awesome.
And we have that visualization of Blue Ghost as it's continuing its horizontal.
Oh,
trajectory,
public service
getting ready to
broadcasting?
get into
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
vertical
Great
mode.
song. Great song.
Exactly. And so, like
I know
we
which
said
one you're
before,
talking
that's
about.
real telemetry that's driving that simulation y'all are seeing on your screen here. That yellow vector you see off to the left, that's pointing in the direction of the sun. And that blue
You
vector
can tell
there
it's
is
pointing at the
direction of
sun
Earth.
by the way that it is, chat.
We see those foot pads as well as all
It
of the
says sun.
engines in this image. So really exciting to see our mock, our mission operations center, as well as that data-driven telemetry.
Just make sure we're caught up here. Yep, we are. All right, chat. Since we are pretty much in with just a couple of minutes here, I'm going to do a short ad break just to make sure that y'all don't get any ads while we're basically going in for a landing.
Right, if you are just
So see you guys here in a minute and a half on the Twitch side.
with that 2-minute call out, if you are just joining us, this is the NASA Firefly joint broadcast for Blue Ghost Mission 1 as part of the agency's Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative. We are standing by as PDI process and procedures do continue. Just as a reminder to those of you who are tuning in, the graphic visualization that we do see is has about a 15-second delay, and we did cover that at the top of our broadcast. So just as a reminder, there is that 15-second delay. So we may actually
Hey Lazarus, how are you?
we may hear that call for landing before the data does get there, but
15-second
we would
delay,
like
okay.
to point that out and keep that in mind as we continue to follow along.
Your
That
replay
last
tag is
call
on?
I
Oh,
heard
thank you.
was Propellant settlings.
Appreciate
we
that.
actually use these ACS thrusters.
Somebody else said that earlier.
60
Apologies.
seconds to PDI.
That'll help settle that propellant.
Hey, Naps, late night moon landings. Yes, indeed.
So exciting.
6 Kerbal years of support. Thanks, Naps. All right, we're about a minute away from
Fun fact, we
powered
actually use those
descent
ACS thrusters on our Alpha launch
initiation
vehicle as well.
or ignition.
You know all about propulsion and engines. It's fascinating. I'm learning so much today.
Yep, that's exactly right.
30
Yep.
seconds to
It's a wider
PDI.
field of view or
They're using
band or whatever you want to call
folks
it.
on console, so that is Raj and Will Adams.
We could build a
So
real
they
life
are
lander.
supporting on TCS and
Yeah.
prop,
It could be
so
done.
propulsion
I
and
wouldn't say
thermal
it couldn't be
control
done.
systems.
10 seconds to PDI.
Let's stand by and tune in to Mission
7,
Ops.
6, 5,
All right, here we go.
4, 3, 2.
Should initiate power descent. There it goes. It looks good. We have all thrusters.
So the lander is performing that 9-minute powered descent initiation using all of its engines
There
to
it goes. So it's using
And
its
you can see
reaction
that on the
control thrusters
simulation
right now.
there with the
Main engine
engines
on.
going.
Main engine
Main
on.
engine is on. We see that.
So here's the
Critical.
velocity up here. Descent critical. So that was what they said.
Flight on ops and abort is no longer possible.
That's what I was about to say. They said earlier that once they reach descent critical,
Teams have been
abort is not
practicing for this
possible.
moment, and we see that taking place right now. And this is where the
All right, velocity's
lander
coming
is
down.
positioning
We're 18
itself closer and
kilometers
closer to
above the
mission.
ground. Wow, we're 18, chat, man.
Guidance mode, D'Souza. 48.1 confirm.
Have you heard that D'Souza guidance?
Attitude and rate errors look like they converge back to nominal after the transition.
I think you might be thinking of somebody else, maybe Rocket Labs. Rocket Labs does a lot of...
Tank pressures are stable, props nominal.
Firefly, I think, makes engines for somebody else.
This burn lasts
VNS is stable, nominal.
about 9 minutes.
At least I'm not...
Navigation filter is well behaved.
We love when things are well behaved.
Well behaved, yep. Within family is another way to say that.
We just heard the call. That
Does the
call
main
was
engine
stable as
gimbal? I
well.
don't believe so, no. That's why it has the
Well,
reaction control systems, which are... So these reaction control systems
During
are
this burn where we were
pretty
going
high
for
thrust.
On ops, 9 minutes remaining.
And they're
Pitch over
throttleable.
455 kilometers south of the target, 16 kilometers above it.
16 kilometers above ground.
We're reducing our velocity down to 40 meters per second in this burn. And so on that gauge, what you'll be looking for is about 144 kilometers per hour.
And just
It's got a
as
long way to
folks
go,
are
chat.
Tuning in right now, our PDI is actually that braking burn. So we're
Exactly.
continuing to slow our speed down and bring the vehicle from a horizontal configuration or horizontal orbit into a we're pitching over the lander into a vertical configuration.
Exactly.
All right.
All of our RCS engines are firing at
Hold
a
your
mid to
breath,
high
chat.
throttle here in the anti-velocity direction to slow us down. We're shedding all of that horizontal velocity like you're saying.
So it's going to be burning through 1,000 kilograms of propellant here. So this should take us all the way down to like 2
8
minutes.
minutes remaining to pitch over.
Yeah.
370 kilometers south of the target, 17 kilometers up.
So 1 minute completed of that 9-minute braking burn.
Yeah. So we'll basically go all the way
Attitude
down
rate errors
to
remain nominal.
2 minutes from landing.
Alcon and Ops, VNS
500
is
meters, I think is what they said earlier.
Shadow.
So we're at 16 kilometers now. We'll go down to 500 meters off
So what
this
you guys
burn.
see on the screen here is that graph taking us through all of the different phases into landing.
All right.
We are in that power descent initiation.
VNS is past the shadow and returning to lower covariance.
Main engine temperatures continue to rise nominally.
How are you feeling?
How are you
Excited,
feeling, chat?
nervous,
Are you guys good?
anxious.
We're good here, chat.
Lots of feelings.
7
going on
minutes to
right
pitch over. 290 kilometers south, 16 kilometers up.
Okay. We're already down 1,000 kilometers an hour here.
Knobs, verify 48.2 when ready.
Wilco.
So we are seeing our various folks in the mission
Oh,
operations
Toaster,
center
why?
that are continuing to follow along
I hope
during
you can
this braking burn.
take a break from what's ailing you here.
Initiation or PDI. All
Excited, little
operations
nervous, yeah.
Engines trimming out, target achievable, 48.2 confirm.
Achievable. Okay.
Batteries at 92%.
In the front left of the room there, where the camera's pointing.
So they're at a
you're gonna
power
see that
negative
that's
state right
100%
now.
of those teammates with us from ASI.
Not
and Space
unexpected.
NG. So you're seeing folks from ASI, GNC1, GNC2, FIDO. You got Space NG with Vision Navigation Systems.
6 minutes remaining until
Oh,
pitch
Toaster,
over.
I'm sorry to hear that,
22
kilometers
kilometers south, 15 kilometers
I
up.
got you.
All right, we can hear that number.
VNS is crossing over the final ridge as we enter the Marcrisium.
We're getting closer and closer to our landing site, Mare Crisium, on the northeast
But
part of the moon.
learning experiences, right?
on the
But I know
side
it
that
sucks.
faces us
I know
here
it
on
sucks
Earth.
right now. What's power
And there
negative?
is
It
a
means that they're
NASA console
they're
position
consuming more power than they're able
That's
to produce right now.
On the opposite side of the room, probably in the corner the camera can't see right here.
At least a wide landing
And
base,
that's
true.
to connect
Not
all
like
of the
Intuitive
10
Machines Nova
payload
Sea lander.
service operations over the course
Have you
of the
done an
next
automated moon landing yet?
14
No,
Earth
I
days
do
or
want to do
one
that
year.
eventually, though, Explorer.
That's right.
And I think that's fair,
Navigation
That is
filter looks
Farah.
nominal, and Star Tracker is still in lock.
All right,
So
Star
she's sitting
Trackers
in our payload
providing
seat,
good
so
GNC,
she is,
good
she's
navigation.
been phenomenal on this
Power is
mission,
nominal.
and she's been with all of the payloads since the beginning.
I remember interviewing her for our podcast, and she was phenomenal. She
Yep, we're in the
knows these
descent.
payloads like the back of her hand.
5
This is-
minutes remaining until pitch over. 140 kilometers south, 13 kilometers up.
Yeah, this will take us all the way down to
Farah's there
500 meters
tracking
and
the health of the
144
payloads and
kilometers an
making sure
hour
everything
on
is
this burn.
performing as expected.
Absolutely.
Should
Yep.
take us another
And we actually have
about
3
4
payloads on
minutes
site
or
for
so.
landing. We have EDS, Lister, LPV.
Hey, what's up,
The
Astronomic?
rest
How are
will
you?
be remote.
Yep, we are potentially 5 minutes or so away
Three
from
out of
landing
the
here.
10 payload teams are currently near the
On
Mission
site.
Operations Center on site, and the remainders have their own control centers
From the
in other
first
locations.
ideally successful commercial
So
landing.
this is a primary operations
VNS is
center.
seeing drops to validate
They
and back to
actually,
global.
there's some backup rooms upstairs too for secondary, tertiary.
I didn't catch that call out. Talking about switching
4
between
minutes remaining to pitch over. 110 kilometers south,
primary
10
and global.
kilometers up.
On the screen right now, you see Joseph Marlin and Will Coogan.
Yeah, exactly,
They're
Uncle
our
Bill. Plus, they're
CEs
using a lot
chief
more systems right
engineers.
now than they normally would.
A fun fact, Will Coogan actually used to be a carpenter before he went
VNS
back to school for his
sees that
PhD.
we're in
Pulling an
validate.
all-nighter worth it, apparently? Hell yeah, there you go.
I think having all these varying backgrounds really helps you in your current work, so it's really impressive
we
to
are-
see this team
we have
coming
another
together. And not only are we seeing the teams in the room, but
200
there are
kilometers
folks
an hour
that
to
are
burn off
in
here.
back rooms, as you mentioned, that are also
And
supporting
another
this mission
Batteries
today.
at
8 kilometers.
Exactly.
Batteries at 90%. So they were at 92, so they are draining. Like I said, they're at a
So we see
power
that
negative
speed has
state.
come
They're
down.
using...
Now sees we're back in global generating solutions again.
Okay. They were talking about their navigation system,
That's 7 kilometers
switching between modes.
from the surface.
But yeah, so they're in a power negative state. They're using more power than they're able to
3
produce
minutes
right now.
remaining until pitch over. 67 kilometers south, 7 kilometers up.
Getting closer and closer to that
System
lunar
temperature is
surface.
still nominal. Attitude and body rate errors still nominal.
Things are looking good. So far, so
Like you were
good.
saying before, the Fireflies, we don't sit still in one position, one role too long, and so we do for sure have a lot of cross-functional teams here.
And there we have our flight director back, tracking this mission.
Whew.
I'm appreciating the call outs. They're easing my nerves a
So I
little bit
believe
right
at the
now,
end
too.
of this burn, they will shut off the main engine and move to only
That's good
descent
track,
on their
as you can see on
RCS
the graph
thrusters.
right now is getting ready to continue that braking burn and that pitch over to put it in that
VNS is
vertical.
reporting position covariance below 25 meters.
25 meters, okay. Covariance again is kind of like air. So right now their navigation system is giving them a 25 meter
2 minutes remaining to pitch
air
over. 35
dispersion, if
kilometers
you will,
south, 4
on
kilometers
their
up.
position. It'll get more and more accurate as they get lower and they're able to start using their
Standing by for
relative terrain
continuation
navigation.
of that powered descent initiation or braking burn.
$10 meters
This
for
is where
landing
all
guidance, yeah, but
engines
they
are
do it in
firing
like different steps, right?
to pitch
GNC
over.
flight on ops, verify 48.3 when ready.
So like landing guidance is a constant rate of descent. Right now they're doing landing guidance technically. They're
Do
you know
what
guiding it
seems
down all
missing
the
in
way.
Subsystem?
What are we missing?
Structures.
Flight
Yep.
laser rangefinder has measurements.
All right. Laser rangefinder is now starting to work.
VNS reports position covariance at 10 meters.
10
1
meters.
minute remaining until pitch over.
So they're
13
able to
kilometers
feed in
south, 2
another
kilometers
sensor
up.
into their position estimation, which allows them to reduce that
We'll actually
air
add in that
dispersion.
mechanisms and structures seat
Power
in
is nominal.
It's called
right
sensor
after
fusion.
landing. Alex Kaplan is our engineer there, and he's designed all three mechanisms.
We're already
on
down to
board the lander that
700
helped also
kilometers an hour.
test.
We're almost done here.
Those
This is looking
systems
really
become
good.
Much more prominent after landing, so we'll see him come in.
We can see center engine on, all RCS thrusters
So we
on.
do see that graphic come up. We talked about a little later with the lander foot pad, so our contact legs will turn.
VNS position covariance below 5 meters.
All
30
right.
seconds remaining to pitch over. 4 kilometers south, 900 meters up.
So those will turn blue once we've confirmed some level of contact. And we'll continue to track as we get closer and closer.
So take us down to 500
to
meters
the
and it
lunar
should shut
surface
down.
over the course of the completion of this PDI.
Either 500 meters or 144 kilometers an hour, whatever their first gate is, I
See the
assume.
graphic on the screen demonstrating that Blue Ghost is getting into that vertical configuration and doing that pitch over as expected.
There it is.
And engine off.
Main engine off.
Terminal guidance. 500 meters up.
500 meters terminal guidance. This will take them all the way down to 10 meters
All right,
at
from
a
here on out,
constant rate of descent, or well, constantly slowing, I should say.
Now, just as a
At
reminder,
a lower
those
deceleration.
engines that we see firing right now on our
Attitude is-
screen,
VNS flight on ops, verify 49.2 when ready.
they are doing those pulses.
Vehicle's pitching over.
VNS is in relative.
260 meters up.
Vision navigation system, by the way,
98 meters
VNS.
from original target.
1 minute remaining in flight.
You say 9 or 90 meters? Couldn't hear that.
The vehicle is converged on its commanded descent profile.
All right, so we are in that autonomous phase that you had described to us. She is ready and has been preparing. for
Gosh, this
this.
is looking good, chat. 24 kilometers an hour at 120 meters.
You'll hear a lot of callouts here about vision navigation solutions, laser
Seconds remaining in
rangefinder,
terminal. 100 meters up.
And
health
let's just
systems.
Navigation filter is still healthy.
Second hazard avoidance occurred 5 meters from previous target.
5 meters. Okay, so it was 9 and then 5.
50 meters up. 30 seconds remaining in flight.
$50 meters.
Verify 49.4.
Copy.
Should take us all the way down to 10. And then enter landing guidance. All right.
11 meters up.
I think they did it. I think they did it. I think they're in the green zone now, no matter what. We got 3 out of 4. Come on, give us.
Vehicle in shutdown.
I think that's good.
3 contact sensors tripped.
3 contact sensors. You can hear them in the background. They're screaming in the background at the watch party.
Vehicle is charging.
Vehicle's charging back to power
lunar
positive.
Gravity, and it is stable.
Lunar gravity stable. That's it. That's a safe touchdown.
Ops. Y'all select the landing. We're on the moon.
We're on the moon. Hell yeah, chat. Easy mode. Easy.
Firefly Aerospace just became the first commercial company in history
First commercial
to complete
company.
a fully successful
Damn.
moon landing. Congratulations
All right.
to the
Go
entire
Firefly.
team. This is such an incredible feat for Firefly, NASA, our nation, and the world as we pave the way for a lasting lunar presence.
Oh, that's awesome.
Congratulations,
What a
Bridget.
good start to a Sunday,
And
chat.
to our Firefly and NASA teams, what a nail-biting moment in history.
GG
The joint
for
teams
sure.
Are now celebrating or enjoying this much
Didn't tip
deserved
over, not
celebration
even a little
at
bit.
Our landing event here in North Austin, Texas.
Huge
This marks the
milestone. Huge
beginning of the
milestone for
next phase
NASA.
of
This
the
is the
mission's
first
surface operations.
commercial lunar
How
payload
are you
services
feeling,
contract to
Bridget?
be successful to land.
Honestly, overwhelmed. I am so proud of our team. Firefly has a way of constantly exceeding expectations. This is a perfect example of that. Over the last 4
so
years,
good.
so many dedicated Fireflies.
Yeah, this is
across
huge for
different
NASA,
teams and
honestly.
disciplines
Huge for
came
Firefly,
together to make
obviously,
this
but
happen.
also for
Now
NASA.
we have a permanent presence on the moon with every employee's
Brilliant.
name engraved on a Blue Ghost plaque. So now
Hey,
when we
there
look
you
up
go,
at the
Buzzcat.
moon, we
Nice.
can tell our kids and future generations that their family name is up there. Thanks to this team and everything they have achieved. But it's not over. We will be operating the payloads and gathering even more data that will make an even larger impact on the future of space exploration.
Congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
now this lunar lander is gearing up to conduct those surface operations and downlink that anticipated image from the lunar surface.
Will we see
so while
footage
we
soon?
stand by for
First
that, we have Tony
pictures
back with some guests
should
from
be
NASA's Science Mission Directorate. Tony.
on their way. They said within the first 30 minutes of landing, they expect to get pictures. There's the watch party. Oh, nice. Where are they doing this? In their factory?
Well, come. Thank you, Nilifer and Bridget. Now joining us is Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate, Nikki
Looks
Fox,
like
and
a
then
nerd.
the Deputy Associate Administrator for Exploration with NASA Science Mission Director, Joel Kearns. Nikki, Joel, I mean, what a
That's
momentous
awesome.
occasion. How are you guys feeling?
Good on them.
We're on the moon!
So my question is, what do you think of that Firefly team?
Oh, yeah. For first try? I mean, seriously. My goodness.
Exciting time. I mean, what a huge congratulations to everyone. Now, Nikki, can you tell us a little bit more about why this landing location was chosen and why, Blue Ghost is on the near side compared to when some other landing sites are chosen for other of our Eclipse flights?
Yeah, absolutely. We choose, I'm sorry, I'm just so excited right now, but we choose our landing sites very carefully. Our Eclipse landers will go to the South Pole, to the near side, to the far side. This one in this really
But
perfect
not cringe. Yeah,
location.
Perry, exactly.
We want to study the geological features on the moon. We want to study the interaction with the solar wind. We want to just learn more about the
They have a rocket launch like
regolith.
SpaceX?
We want to
Gotcha.
be able
That's
to
cool. I didn't know
prepare
that.
for our future astronauts to go and keep them safe. And so we chose the science
at that.
instruments perfectly
They having
to
a
go to
rave,
this
chat?
incredible place on the moon.
That we did. And Joel, this is the most NASA science that we have
Oh, they
sent
rented out
on
a venue.
Eclipse
Okay.
flight thus
That makes
far.
sense.
Can you tell us a little bit more then? What is the primary goal or what are we hoping to find then with all of this?
So we're landing in a place that's of great scientific interest, but it was also in a very achievable place to land. And there are studies that range
Now
from
we just need
studies
intuitive
of the
machines
sun
to
that
follow
we'll
'em up.
conduct from the surface of the moon, studies of the abrasive dust of the regolith. We're going to drill into the surface. We're going to pick up regolith. It's
a
just
big
it's gonna
lander,
answer
chat.
so
Look
many
at that thing.
questions over this one lunar day long mission. It's going to be really one for the history books.
That's right. And speaking then about
1,000
all those
kilograms
questions
of
that we're going to
propellant.
answer, Nikki, tell us, what then
Yeah,
of
Hakuto.
the science and data that we
Yeah,
learn on the
Hakuto,
moon,
intuitive
how
machines.
can that help us back here
They
on
got to
Earth?
follow up.
So there are so many ways that, you know, everything we do in
3
NASA
good
science
landings
is
in a
so
year would be
interconnected.
amazing.
We
You're not
study
wrong.
everything from the center of the sun to the edge of the universe. Right
Ooh,
now,
Griffin?
focusing on the
Yeah,
moon,
Aster.
learning more about particularly things like, you know, how that regolith,
Yeah, I
how
guess
it
the
sort of
jury's still out on
interacts when
viper
we
hellfish.
land, what the plume looks like, how sticky it is, if we can clean it off those surfaces, just telling us all about that. For us here on Earth, all this technology that we're sending up to the moon continually all has real-world applications as well. And so everything that we do, you know, coming back and serving humanity and inspiring the world with NASA science.
Nice.
That's right, we sure are. You know, that's really fascinating. Talking more about, you know, some of the scientific instruments that we're sending. As we know, Joel, some of those science instruments have flown on prior CLIPS flights, and they're also scheduled to fly on future ones. Why is that? Why do we choose some of the same instruments for certain flights
No,
and
no.
different ones
There
for
are 10
others?
payloads on board, though.
We've only really been to a few
I get the
places
meme.
on the surface of the moon during Apollo, or even with our robotic surveyor craft from the 1960s. There were a bunch of measurements we really want to take to characterize overall around the moon. Sure, especially the South Pole where our astronauts will
what's
go
up, Ben?
initially. But there are particular scientific questions where you have to take the same measurement on the near side or the far side in a mare, you know, one of these frozen lava pools, as opposed to the Highlands Mountains, to really understand the moon, and based on that, to better understand Earth.
You know, I can't wait for that.
He's so
and,
excited.
You know, Nikki, talk to us then about some of the lessons learned then.
I mean, I
that we
can't blame
have,
him,
you
but
know, learned
goodness.
from now our other CLIPS flights that were
Hey,
applied
X1,
for
how are
this
you?
one, or you know, for the future ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the amazing things about our CLIPS providers is they are all there for one another. You know, even today, Jason was sharing stories about what some of the other teams have been sending. Good luck to Firefly today. It is just an amazing community.
Everyone
and that
knows
is what
space
we
is
wanted
hard.
to do with the CLIPS program was
It's what
really
brings us together,
get
chat.
this sustainable commercial lunar
Yeah, I
economy
know.
and have it led
Like,
by
Viper's not
American
dead, but it's
companies,
not,
and that's
you know,
so important
looking
to
great.
us. As Joel said earlier, you know, we're not doing this as NASA. We're doing this in partnership with these American companies. And so, you know, just seeing the community that we're building is just so amazing. And so just congratulations to everybody.
Yeah, very well put. I mean, to both of you, how are you guys feeling right now that we're on the moon?
I don't know, it's all in a day's work, isn't it? Really, it's, you know, it's a Sunday. No, honestly, it is so amazing.
I
We
mean,
were
she's not
standing
wrong.
outside watching it, and Joel was getting instant, like, you know, feedback from all those amazing people in the mark. And it's just incredible it was just, I don't know, you know, seeing it come down and then you're suddenly like, oh my God, it's 5 kilometers above the surface. And so it's just an amazing achievement. I am so proud of everyone
A lot
in
of
this
people
room because you all
there who
had
don't
a
know
part
space
in
is hard.
putting
Yeah,
this
I know,
lander
right?
on the moon.
That's why I try to cover these when I can, because I like to think I can give a little bit more insight into certain things, you know? But yeah, so like I said, Firefly is the first commercial company to successfully soft land. I mean, I guess technically Intuitive Machines did soft land on the moon, but it wasn't really like I mean, after that, you know, it tipped over and it couldn't complete the rest of its objectives. But yeah, Firefly 100% able to take home the prize for first commercial lunar lander to like safely land on the moon. So that's actually really good. Crazy. So yeah, 10 payloads on board this flight. The first successful landing, as far as I'm concerned, for NASA as part of the Commercial Lunar Payload Services contract. There's a lot of money going into lunar research, obviously, for landers. Astrobotics, of course, is another company that we unfortunately had a failure on their vehicle. They had a propulsion issue, a propellant tank issue that they couldn't get to the moon on their first go. Intuitive Machines 1, of course, landed on the moon but tipped over because it landed a little bit hard going with a sideways velocity. Then you now have Blue Ghost, and Blue Ghost 2 is actually in 2026 already scheduled, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, good things, Chad. Good things. I'm just waiting. I'm hoping that they get the pictures back for posting here soon. They said within the first 30 minutes, so we'll see.
We love hardware here. Let's get a...
Is Firefly the one with the hopper? No, that's Intuitive
Quick
Machines.
safety briefing on, or a safety practice on something that Bridget has for us to see today. Oh, this is cool.
It is cool. Oh, let's move this
Hey, a thruster.
out of the way here.
It's one of the reaction control systems.
All right, so I love talking about Spectre. This is at 200 Newton Hypergol engine. You will notice I am wearing gloves.
Right.
The hypergol propellant is actually a toxic propellant, and while this has been completely decontaminated, we still want to take safety precautions just in case. But yeah, you can tell that this, so there are, if you want to actually show on that lander, but there are...
So it uses hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. Yeah, hydrazine, if you don't know, can kill a person with like 30 parts per million or billion. I don't remember. It's like a very, very tiny substance, a very, very small amount will kill a person. So here's that.
Engine, so we have two different propellants here.
Okay.
And because it's hypergol, we don't need a third ignition source. They just ignite on contact with each other, which is pretty cool. And these are our Kraken main valves. We love to have fun names here at Firefly. And
yeah, they
then
build a
it'll
lot
go
of their stuff in-house,
through
obviously,
the injector
which is
here, combust in
great.
that thrust chamber, and then expand out through the nozzle. It's pretty impressive. So this is what the team designed, developed, tested, and built in about a
I do kind of hope in the
timeframe.
future that shifts away from the current paradigm, because every commercial space company right now tries to vertically integrate, and that's fine because you have full control of your supply chain, you make more money that way in the long run. That's great. But in terms of like interoperability and actual easy access into space, that's got to change. I mean, that's why you have people like Ursa Major, who's only developing rocket engines, which I think is really, really great. You know, there's Rocket Labs took over Sinclair Interplanetary for all of the satellite components, things like that. Trying to ideally go to a component selling, you know, business infrastructure, if you will, would be really good. One man's opinion.
All of our Fireflies.
How is it, you know, how are you and the Firefly teams feeling right now?
They're just fired up right now in the mission control room. I mean, they were just...
It already is changing, Aster. I would argue that it already possibly could be
clockwork, even when we landed,
starting to wind down.
And then after we saw everything was stable and upright...
Yeah, I know, right, Captain Failure?
They were fired up. They were fired up. We got
Astranus uses D-sub?
And now you can use the EDS shield, EDS payload to take that off.
Yes, I love that EDS payload. I love all the payloads.
Absolutely, we love all 10 NASA payloads, that's right. You know, Jason, this is Firefly's first moon landing.
I agree, Jersey.
What message would you like to give to the team that have worked so hard on this mission?
Well, I'm just in awe of all of them. I've been that way since I, you know, witnessed the company, you know, during their launches, and then finally with this.
Let's see. I'm gonna go to their Firefly official X and see if they have anything. I mean, I'm sure they'll bring it in to the launch party, right? But yeah, no updates from Firefly yet on their X account in terms of any pictures. So we'll wait and see. They had touchdown 15 minutes ago. So they said within 30 minutes they hope to have pictures. So we'll see. We shall see.
All the aspiring and future engineers and scientists.
Her jacket is cool. Her jacket is cool.
One day enter the aerospace industry.
Well, if you look at everybody in that mission control room and everybody at our company, you don't have to always be a rocket scientist, although we have some great ones at the company. We have people from all walks of life. And in that control room, people that started off with music careers.
It is until the 50s, yeah.
They're all from
yes, indeed.
Careers.
There's so much talk in the industry about trying to standardize.
You know,
but
we hope this inspires the next generation.
Nobody's.
Kids and staff.
I mean, there are organizations trying to, but
you know,
it's not going anywhere yet.
You never know where you're going to land. We just landed on the moon, so we hope that the Fireflies today inspired a whole generation.
That's right. There's space for everyone in space.
That's right.
I know, Rocket. That would be. Oh my God.
You know,
My company is trying to change that, by the way. My company very much wants to be transparent with hardware. Price tag on the website. Here. You want to buy it? Here it is. I hate that.
Well,
I hate that.
Right after this, we're going to get ready for our first launch of the year. We're going to launch our one.
You want this reaction control system? Okay, well, here's the spec sheet. Now call us. You know, contact us to set up a meeting, and then we'll talk to them, and they'll be like, okay, so here's all these other things. Let's set up another meeting to talk about this further. It's like, no, I just want to buy it, please.
We're going to launch multiple times
Please.
this year. Things like
let me give you my money.
Haze for True Anomaly, and there's other, Space Force missions that we have. So we're going to continue to launch at cadence, and then we're delivering our medium launch vehicle first stage by the end of the year. We just finished our first stage LOX.
It's half the reason why the average development time for a satellite is 2 years.
We were working on Blue Ghost 2, Blue Ghost 3 as well.
It takes
so we're not done.
12 months just to source everything.
Moon missions, and I think there's this Electra spacecraft that we don't hear too much about. That's a space maneuver vehicle. And we're going to launch the inaugural one this year for a responsive NRO mission.
You got a lot of things coming up. I mean, do you have a favorite?
My favorite is always the next one. The next launch, the next lunar lander, the next one.
Very well put. I know we're all very much
if you design for a hard landing, you could cut out a lot of dev time.
Thank you so much. I mean,
probably true.
Everyone here is so excited. Can we get another cheer from the crowd?
Are they going to keep the webcast going, or do we go to X to see any updates?
Well, we'll go ahead and send it back to our hostess, to Nilüfer and Bridget.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Jason. Congratulations once again. If you are just joining us moments ago, Firefly became the second American commercial company to touch down on the moon with its Blue Ghost lunar lander. Now, we're standing by right now for that first moon image, which we expect in the next 15 minutes or so. So while we wait, Bridget, do you mind giving us a little bit of a preview on what's next for this mission?
Yeah, sure. So this is going to be the beginning of our surface operations. Within the next 2 hours, Blue Ghost will perform
Hope the lens cap came off.
in order to activate each subsystem and perform health checks. We'll also deploy and calibrate that X-band antenna that we spoke about earlier. That's going to increase our bandwidth and begin downlinking HD imagery and video. And then following surface commissioning, we're going to begin those 14 days of the payload operations.
Great. So that includes deploying that surface axis arm with the lunar.
This isn't live. This is what they posted several days ago. But we know the camera lens is off. I just hope we get this. I hope we get this at some point.
Also going to
going
deploy
down.
4 tethered lunar magnetotelluric sounder electrodes, or LMS, on the lunar surface, in addition to a mast on Blue Ghost's top deck, which stands 2 meters above the lander to help study the deep interior of the moon. We'll also begin subsurface drilling operations with the Lister.
I know, right, Charties? Yeah, I really hope they get that all the way down to landing.
So that will be really great. And after the first image, there's a lot more to come from over the 14 days of surface operations, literally. There's that solar eclipse.
I don't know what she was looking at.
She expects to capture
she looked scared
March
for a second.
14th, where the Earth blocks the sun from the moon's surface. And then we also have a few days later to capture that lunar sunset we discussed early on in the broadcast, but that is expected on March 16th, where it will verify that dust levitation phenomenon that was seen at the last Apollo, when the last Apollo astronauts were on the moon during Apollo 17.
Exactly.
And so finally, Blue Ghost is expected to operate for some hours into the lunar night as well. So it means that there's still so much to look forward to during this mission. I'm really excited.
Me too. And so while we continue to stand by for that first
no hands on face, so that's a good sign.
And check back in with
I mean,
Ray,
we already got that they
the
landed safely, but doesn't seem like they're working any other problems.
Hey, thank you, Bridget. Joining us once again is Ray Allensworth, Firefly Spacecraft Program Director. Ray, I mean, how you feeling? What an awesome time.
That's amazing! I'm sorry, my heart's beating so fast.
I know, I can see that. It's so exciting. Yeah. You were just in Firefly's Mission Operations Center. Can you tell us how everyone was feeling
so
in that moment,
if they
what
were-
it was like?
If they were just there.
It was so quiet for just like, I mean, it was like a 9-minute burn, 12 minutes, like getting, through PDI, pitch over, and then you just hear these 4 call
9 minutes
outs.
of terror.
And I think I'll just forever hear like our chief engineer Will's like voice, like we successfully landed on the moon, and then just everybody kind of lost their minds. I'm sure y'all did too. Yeah.
We sure did. It was great. Now Blue Ghost is on the moon.
Yeah.
What's the team doing now?
So they're all business again. So I had to leave because I couldn't keep it together. So they are immediately going into health and safety, and then it's really just immediate into payload ops. So we landed at the beginning of the lunar day.
They landed at the beginning of the lunar day. They expect 14 days of continuous operations before they hit lunar night, and they don't expect to survive the lunar night. So pretty much from now, they have 14 days to get all of their payload objectives done. So yeah, pretty much land, hit the ground running. You quite literally, you start now. Now is the time to start. Of course, they have to run through commissioning phase for all of the payloads and make sure, the spacecraft is good and healthy, and do all their health checks and make sure, whatever they have to deploy is good. So
SARM will deploy, we'll have probes coming off the side of the lander. So a lot of different payload ops, but there's also a couple other phenomena that we'll see on the surface.
Full on
so,
2414,
we will
yeah, pretty much.
an eclipse while we're on the surface. And then at sunset, we expect to see this kind of phenomena where the dust levitates off the surface.
Yeah.
So that we'll try to, we will photograph and video all of that.
That's going to be
so
awesome.
Cool. When it was being discussed earlier, that lunar sunset, I think we were all like, wait, what are we going to be looking at? Exactly. No, I love that. This, as was mentioned, isn't going to be the only lunar mission for Firefly. Can you tell us a little bit
The next
more
one's
about
already
the
scheduled for
upcoming
2026,
ones,
yeah.
What we can expect, how those will look?
Yeah, absolutely. So Blue Ghost Mission 2 is well underway. We're moving into the integration phase of that mission.
Ooh, nice.
That mission
Already
is really
integration.
special because it's not just a lander, but it's also our Electra vehicle that's going with it. So that'll help get it to lunar orbit. And then once we deploy Blue Ghost
It's
in one
their
of our NASA
orbital transfer
payloads,
vehicle.
that will actually act as a comms relay. So that is, far past CDR in integration, getting ready to go. And then we just did our kickoff for mission 3.
Yeah,
so we're going to be
it doesn't
pretty
surprise
busy
me.
for the
Rocket
next couple
Labs
years.
makes a lot of
Very
stuff now.
busy. I mean, and
They've acquired
you
so many different
mentioned
companies.
For the next lunar mission, you have to use, it's not just going to be the lander that you're sending, you're also using the orbiting spacecraft, the Electra vehicle. Tell us how that works, why it's needed, for Blue Ghost Mission 2.
Yeah, so Blue Ghost Mission 2, we have a lot more payload mass, but also we're deploying a fairly large payload lunar pathfinder into orbit. The transfer stage will get that whole stack to lunar orbit once we deploy from the launch vehicle. And then it deploys LP, and then again, it's staying as a comms relay, so we'll be on the far side. So we're really designing that vehicle to be able to operate for 5 years. So it's a pretty robust vehicle, and it shares a lot of heritage from the lander.
That's really cool. I cannot wait for that one to get underway. And as you mentioned, the second mission, that's going to go to the far side. Are there any challenges or any differences, I guess, with landing, right now on the near side compared to now for the next one that's going to be a different location?
I think we know less about the far side, so, we had a relatively good amount of data.
If you don't know what this is, so NASA just this year, or maybe it was late last year, ranked from both an industry and their own internal organizations, what both industry, academia, and NASA declared were the highest shortfalls, basically biggest technology gaps right now. And wouldn't you know it, survive and operate through the lunar night is ranked #1 by a lot. Yeah, definitely thermal management systems, power, batteries. That's a huge tech that is missing right now.
Just dive right into surface ops. I'll be in the mock a lot, and then maybe a PTO day or two, and then just
we
mission
did
2.
it. Thanks, Firefly.
Well, you definitely
yeah.
deserve a day or 2 of PTO. Ray, congratulations.
Can we laser or
once
microwave energy the
again.
landers
Thank you
stuck
so
in lunar
much
night?
For joining us.
I mean,
Now,
I guess
we'll send it back
technically,
to, our host.
beam power is what you're talking about. That is a technology being developed. The only problem, right, is to be able to do that. You have, this is getting out of my area of expertise, but you can imagine if you have to transmit power in some sort of microwave style of transport. You have a lot of losses there. You need an incredible amount of power just to transmit that power and things like that. So, like, yes, but like, I don't know if we're there yet.
But let's talk a little bit more about what to
RTGs,
expect
sure.
and what took place over the course of the landing. So let's take a look at that incredible landing. Now that we're on the surface, we're, like I said.
Oh, is she listening to something coming through?
Payload verify 49.4.
Copy. Verified.
11 meters up.
I don't know. It sounded like she just cut off her sentence, so. Contact. I wonder what happened to that other leg not to be, not to get contact sensor.
3 contact sensors tripped.
Engine shutdown confirmed. Power's nominal vehicle is charging.
IMU reports lunar gravity and it is stable.
Khan, Chief Engineer on Ops. Y'all select the landing. We're on the moon.
Reaction wheels too strong, like in KSP, just land like this.
Firefly Aerospace just became the first commercial company in history
Picture reveal time? Yeah, I don't know.
fully successful moon landing. Congratulations to the entire team. This is such an incredible feat for Firefly, NASA, our nation, and the world as we pave the way for a lasting lunar presence.
Congratulations, Bridget. And to our Firefly. So now we're on the surface and we're standing by, as I mentioned, for that first image, which should be ready in just some moments. But Blue Ghost is on the moon for the first time. And we know that
how many hours do I have in
KSP? The same
KSP?
quality that we've seen over the course of this mission while it was in transit. And that's because she's just getting
Maybe
settled
more.
in her new home and getting all of the comms and things sorted out. Teams have been working towards this moment and will continue to stand by as we anticipate that image. We also want to check back in with Tony, who's with Chris Colbert. Tony?
Thank you,
All right, so we just sit and we wait, chat.
Chris Colbert, manager,
We sit and we wait.
Commercial Lunar Payload Services Initiative. Chris, I mean, what a time to be alive.
I thought I had a lot. That's fair. Oh, we got a posture check. All right, and stay hydrated.
That's right. Now, Chris, can you tell us why it's so important that NASA has the CLIPS initiative and that we have multiple companies sent
Clips is important because it's basically NASA's attempt to foster a commercial viable alternative to commercial companies for landing on the moon. So yeah, it's pretty good. All right, Hellfish, have a good night, my friend. Thanks for hanging out. 3 minutes ago, Italian Space Agency congratulated Firefly. Yeah, they have a payload on board, which is pretty cool. The Italian Space Agency. I wish someone could make a lunar hopper that would climb in and out of craters. Well, that's kind of what the hopper is designed to do for Intuitive Machines. I don't think it's necessarily going into any craters, depending on where Intuitive Machines landed, but that's testing that sort of technology. Yeah, 100%.
Easy to get to. We can get to it in just a few days. But it's also a key part of the Moon to Mars strategy for the agency. The Artemis program and getting humans back to the moon and on to Mars. Starting here with the smaller landers and letting us learn about the moon is a big part of what CLIPS is for.
You know, on that note, do you think then that CLIPS could one day expand to cover other destinations like Mars?
Of course.
What I think we're seeing here is that commercial companies are very successful. So
Yep,
we want
Rocket
to
Lab
take
has
advantage of those capabilities
hardware on
and
this flight.
The growing industrial base in the United States and the American companies, what they bring to the table
Buzz
to
Aldrin.
allow us to broaden our exploration. It's a key part of the Artemis strategy is to take advantage of commercial companies. And as we just proved tonight, they can do it. They can do it really well.
Indeed.
That's right. You know, now that we have another commercial company on the moon, how does it feel to see this initiative underway and producing results?
It's astounding. This is amazing. I can't say enough good words about the Firefly team. They did just such amazing work all the way through. And
in
that
his
was kind of a
jammies.
picture-perfect landing. Everything worked beautifully all the way through this mission. They knew what they were doing. They solved every problem that came in front of them. This is just an amazing feeling. It demonstrates that what NASA started with 5 years ago can work, that we can utilize these commercial companies at a fraction of our normal cost, and we can get to the
RTGs
moon.
work
We've
small
got
scale, larger scale than
another
that.
landing
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up
for
in just
sure.
5 more days.
Yeah, you would need like a power
And
bank
6 more
in order
planned
to
over
like
the next
actually
3
do that.
years. So we've got a lot of news coming.
Or
and
just
this
go
works.
nuclear,
That's
I guess.
right. I mean, you just mentioned we have
The
another
other
moon
type of nuclear.
landing coming up very shortly. Can you tell us a little bit more about those future CLIPS flights, what we can look forward to, and when?
Sure. So part of what we're doing here, Nikki Fox mentioned it earlier, we're helping learn more about the moon to prepare us
Come
for
on,
taking
picture.
humans back. So we're flying an increasingly complex series of instruments to the moon and demonstrations of technology to help advance our capability prior to taking the humans there, to make it safer. And,
I just want to
more
see the picture that
productive
they're
when
going to
they do
send.
get there. We'll see
I'm
those
hoping they do
missions
that kind
carried
of
out
quickly.
fairly
It's
consistently over
getting
the
late.
next 3 to 4 years as our
2
instruments
a.m., my
are
goodness.
matured and put together, and we take advantage of what we learned from these early missions. You've heard a lot today about the instruments on this mission. We'll learn from those instruments and make adjustments to the instruments we fly.
I
in the
know,
future.
right, Ben? That's
And
where
you'll
I'm
see
at. Like,
those
come
spread out
on.
over the next 2 to 3 years, so that by the time we take humans back,
I'm old.
we
I
know
need
a
my
lot
beauty
about the
sleep.
moon.
That's cool. I'm very much looking forward to that. I mean, Chris, you know, thank you so much again for joining us here. Now, we'll send it back to our hostess, Tanilla.
All right, it's 30 minutes.
Thank you both, and thank you, Chris, for guiding the entire CLIPS team since day one. I know it's an accomplishment, and I know that I am not alone as I express gratitude for your guidance and support over the years. We are all so grateful for you. Now, we do have something exciting that we've all been waiting for.
Do it.
Do you want
Show
to
it.
tease the audience a little bit more, or
No.
what do
Well,
you
we
think?
have that,
Stop it.
that lunar image ready.
Do
So
we?
let's go ahead and share that with the team here.
All right, you're seeing it here first.
Look at
Oh, nice. So this is from the top
feeling a
deck
little
down.
bit
This is that
emotional,
same view that
and
we saw
I'm
them
feeling
post a
over
few
the
days
moon.
earlier.
Now, when I look up at the moon,
Look at that little crater
from
there.
down here, I will always remember this.
Look at how much
exact moment
dust
and the
it
fact
kicked
that
up.
Blue
That's what we're
Ghost Mission
seeing, and
1
that's why it looks
is in the
hazy.
northeast region in Mare Crisium. What an incredible
Nice.
sight.
So this, like I was saying earlier, is the same
Bridget, can you tell
perspective
us what we're looking at
as
right
this
now?
is here.
Yeah, so this will be one of those cameras on the lunar lander. We're looking at that lunar
Same
surface, so you
perspective.
can see the various features of that regolith, the craters, some rocks, and that vision navigation system did such a phenomenal job finding
Nice.
what looks like a relatively flat surface for us.
That's
to land
awesome.
on. And then obviously you can see some
Sunrise would
push of
definitely
our
make that
lander in
worse as well,
image
yeah.
Now, this is that low quality image we anticipated, but Firefly expects to share more imagery and insights at the upcoming news briefing.
That's right. We'll get that X-band imagery, and then we'll actually also be able to get that video from landing.
Damn.
Now, before we get ready to wrap, what else is next for Firefly, Bridget?
In the coming weeks, Firefly is scheduled
Yep,
to
they got
launch
2 weeks,
Lockheed
chat.
Martin's LM-400 satellite on our next Alpha rocket. The Firefly team is also
Ooh,
gearing
a
up for our
Firefly
next
mission.
mission to the moon in 2026. And that mission is part of another NASA CLIPS task order. But this time we're going to utilize a 2-stage spacecraft configuration with Firefly's Blue Ghost lander with a stacked Elytra orbital vehicle to support operations in lunar orbit and on the far side of that moon. To learn more about the rest of Firefly's upcoming missions, you guys can always check out fireflyspace.com/missions. And I know NASA has a lot coming down the pipeline too. What do y'all have in store for us?
We do. We are busy, so CLIPS continues.
Looks like they
to be an
found
example of
regolith. You're
how
not wrong,
NASA is
Chill.
enabling commercial services at the moon to
There you
support
go.
long-term lunar exploration.
Look
we
at
have more
that.
CLIPS deliveries that are planned through 2028, and the next CLIPS lunar landing is
Oh, that
coming
is
up.
that is low res.
Intuitive Machines' IM-2 mission is just days away to landing on the moon on March 6th.
Yep, IM2 is just a few days
which
away.
is near the moon's south pole, which you can follow.
So,
on
like I
all of
said,
our NASA
that
channels.
is the same
On top of the next
perspective
moon
as
landing, we
this.
also have a launch. We're launching 2
Right?
new NASA science missions together.
Yeah,
in
so
the
that's
coming
right
days.
there. This is a
NASA's
different camera.
Nimbus
So this
Space
must be a
Telescope,
low-res camera,
SPAREX, and its
different
Rideshare
camera
Punch
aperture.
will lift off from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Now, then after that,
You can
we
see
do
that
have
pipe
the
right
launch of
there.
Crew 10 to the International Space Station, which
Right
is
there.
targeting no earlier than March 12th, as well as the return of Crew 9 shortly after.
Yeah, they kicked up a lot of
And beyond
dust,
that, there's
and that
Artemis
low,
2, the
like you
first
said, the
crewed
low
mission
sun
of
on the
the Orion
horizon
spacecraft
is
and Space Launch
really
System
making
rocket,
this
which
wash
is
out.
scheduled for no later than April 2026.
Yeah, landing video becoming. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, like I'm showing you the still image here, but check this out. This is what we got earlier. This is what we got a few days ago.
From the lunar surface. So thank you so much for joining us for this.
Right? Like if we get this camera view, this high, like fairly high def camera image all the way down to the surface. Whew, is all I have to say. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. Yeah, they have. Yeah. So like I said, this looks, I mean, I would assume, I'm not an expert on cameras, but I would assume that this is a secondary camera, like lower res. It looks like it has a different aperture and things like that. So a different field of view even. But it's basically on the same, basically mounted in the same space, same location. But yeah, if they have this for this and all the way down, it's gonna be so good. That's gonna be so good. But that's it. That is it, chat. They landed a lander on the moon. First commercial landing on the moon, successful, soft landing, and ideally now they have 2 weeks, 14 days for their lunar daylight. So their overall mission is expected to last 14 days. They are not expected to survive the lunar night. So they have 14 days to get all of their stuff done and figured out. But that's going to have to do it for me tonight, chat. I hope you guys enjoyed the coverage. That was fantastic. Firefly, congratulations. NASA's CLPS contract office, congratulations. It's been good. But I need my sleep, chat. Need my sleep. It's Sunday. It's the weekend. What are we doing? What is this? Anyways, I'm out and should be streaming today. After this stream, I should be streaming again today. We have two launches, actually. We have two Falcon 9 launches. We have a Starlink and Punch Sphere, unless those got pushed back. Let me actually check. Did those get pushed back or not? Oh, it did get pushed back. Son of a... I was hoping it wouldn't. Yep, okay. So we got one launch tomorrow, 7:24 p.m. Mountain Time. So I should be here streaming that at the start of the stream. And then we have Sphere and Punch is now pushed to Tuesday. Okay. And then we have Starship Super Heavy looking at Monday. We'll see. I'm not sure about the weather for that, but we'll see, I guess. How long until the next stream? Like, what is that, like 18 hours? 18 hours, something like that. But anyways, chat, I'm out. Have a good rest of your Sunday and see you guys later.